The book of Daniel is so full of holes that a few leaps have to be made to make anything out of it. Luckily, others have done the work for me, and at this point I'm going to put modern scholarship on Daniel to good use. Daniel 9 is split into two parts. The entire story is said to take place in the reign of Darius, son of Xerxes, a Mede by descent. Of course, at this point, we don't know if the author is talking about Cyrus, Darius I, or perhaps even more likely, Darius II. Darius II is the only king out of all of these that sort of follows as Xerxes, even though Darius wasn't his son. But the author is clearly getting several kings mixed up, so we have no idea who he's talking about. The first part of the chapter is essentially a prayer by Daniel that asks how much longer before the temple in Jerusalem is rebuilt. The second part of the chapter is a figurative answer from the angel Gabriel. Modern scholarship claims that this allegory is talking about two people, the first person being the anointed one and the second person being the ruler. The entire allegory is split up into figurative weeks or time frames that have seemingly no bearing on reality. Now, it appears that the Anointed One is someone involved with the construction of the Temple of Jerusalem. Modern scholarship points to Cyrus the Great being the Anointed One. However, I would like to point out that the 7 days reference could be a reference to the story of Ezra or potentially Nehemiah. There are a few curious references in those books that the author could have picked up, and both Ezra and Nehemiah were said to be involved with the construction of the temple. The ruler is apparently talking about Antiochus Epiphanes when he sacks Jerusalem, puts his own man in at high priest, and sets up a statue to Zeus on the Temple Mount. This anointed one and the ruler seem like complete opposites of each other, and modern scholarship could be correct in deriving Cyrus and Antiochus Epiphanes from this reference. The reference to the sevens or weeks appears to be a purely figurative time frame or an inaccuracy. Daniel 9 is messy, figurative, and the only allegorical story makes virtually no sense at all. The author doesn't know what he's talking about, and so reconstructing his understanding with 100% certainty is impossible. It seems likely that Antiochus Epiphanes is the evil character, and Cyrus would be a likely culprit for the Anointed One. Of course, at this point, the Daniel author hasn't given any indication that he knows who Cyrus was. So while in Jewish tradition, Cyrus the Great as the Anointed One makes sense, to get Cyrus the Great from the book of Daniel is by itself a bit of a leap.